all those groups of people. And there is a large focus on the teaching continuum. So that notion that teachers can come into the profession and have a place to look forward to be able to grow both in their teaching but also in their leadership opportunities. And that's been missing in the past. You were either a teacher or you were a teacher or you're a teacher or you're a teacher. So hopefully we'll see some change with that. So other notable improvements. Well, in states that have collective bargaining laws, it now says that they can bargain around Title II, which is professional development. It also has language about restorative justice, and it has some clarity about opt-out options, but that again is another area of conflict between the ESSA law and the opt-out language. There are improvements to require charter schools to be both transparent and accountable. And then, so what happens to the NCLB waiver? There's a built-in transition to the new law, and the waiver that was in place ends August of 2016. So, everything's great, right? Not quite. So the new draft regulations that I briefly mentioned, that all the comment had to be put into the DOE, federal DOE, by August 1. They need to remove the NCLB emphasis on testing. Currently, the regulation states that robust action, read punitive action, must be taken against schools that don't test 95% of students. And that was not in the law. So again, if changes are not made, if the proposed regulations are not changed, then ESSA's emphasis on closing opportunity gaps would be undermined. And despite ESSA's statement that the U.S. Department of Education should not prescribe the weight of any measure or indicator used to identify or meaningfully differentiate schools, the proposed regulations would require evidence that states have a limited role of the opportunity indicators in the accountability system. So, in other words, they took a 180-degree turn back from what ESSA could let them do and put it back on all about tests. But thanks to NEA's summertime notice out to educators, they had hundreds of thousands of comments. So hopefully it'll be different. So, because we think that things like engaging electives, advanced placement classes, strong parent and family engagement, full-time counselors, nurses, librarians, and a preschool program, we think that those things should count as a measure of school quality. So if changes are not made, that states can use multiple measures for accountability proposals. The proposed regulations would also require that states assign a comprehensive summative rating for each school to provide a clear picture of its overall rating. It's almost like they read Arizona's accountability plan under No Child Left Behind and said, oh, this looks good. So, right now we have a statute that says we have to give letter grades, but again, just like the teacher evaluation statute, we have the power and the opportunity to roll that back, just like we have the power and the opportunity to change how the A through F is done. I don't know that we can get rid of A through F totally in Arizona, but we can make sure that other measures are included in how that is figured, how that is used to label schools. So skip the next slide, because that was before August 1. Although that's still a good website. You could still go to that website and find out more information about ESSA, because they've got a lot of documents posted there. So next one. So we're taking advantage of this opportunity to the extent possible. Right now, AEA is in the, we're in the education and awareness campaign of trying to get as many teachers and school employees and community partners as we know to become knowledgeable about ESSA. Because what we don't want is we don't want school districts to write their ESSA plans in isolation, sitting at the DAC by themselves. Because explicitly, that's not what the law says should happen. So they need to have a broad group of stakeholders at the district level. Once it transitions to the school, there needs to be a broad group of stakeholders, so they need to be putting that into their plan. And I particularly like the last one there. Educators and communities driving decisions, not politicians. So what's next? So here's all the opportunities that are coming to our state. What should the state accountability system look like? And that's happening right now. They have several ad hoc committees that are working. The opportunity perhaps to be a local assessment pilot for your school district. Taking a look at what tests should be eliminated. What tests do you give in Peoria that don't really inform instruction in a timely manner? So like you have kids for a whole school year, they leave, and then you get your tests the next year. And imagine if you had something more timely so that you could really reteach and help them learn what they need to learn. So the list goes on. You can find out more about the list on that other one. So we're going to skip over this one because it's a little thing. So here's some powerful tactics that they're asking that you, as Peoria Education Association, consider. Forming a local ESSA team, considering your parents as partners, begin talking to them, working with community partnerships, discussing the notion of community schools. Joe Thomas, new Arizona Education Association president, is very committed to having community schools in as many places as possible. You can do a testing audit. There's a robust way in which we won't go through all the details, but your local could provide Peoria with the information and the process to begin to look at how they do testing. And then you use that audit looking at the NEA GPS indicators. So the GPS are great public school indicators. You can form professional development teams. In Peoria, you can bargain by taking some of these things to your budget committee, which is where your local currently bargains, but we're hoping to work to get it MOU as well. So we're going to skip through the next one because we're not going to spend a lot of time on that. But if the local is interested, we could certainly spend more time in doing that. So more about the opportunity audit. And you could see that other states have actually used that indicator framework to do their audit at their state. So here are some resources to consider. And then the ESSA site that I said earlier. And then find out, here's, that's the full draft of the ESSA regulations. It's hundreds of pages, but it's available. And then the NEA frontline webpage on ESSA is ESSA Begins. And then you can join the ESSA implementation group on Ed Communities. I don't know how many of you have already gone to NEA and signed up to be on an Ed community, but it's fairly simple. And it's fun. You can find all sort of groups in there you might find. Frank, you might find one that's for ceramics teachers. So what about ESSA in Arizona? So go to, and this is a current opportunity, go to the website pictured there to sign up to do two things. One, sign up for updates and they'll send them to your email. But the Arizona Department of Education also has a survey that's posted there asking for input into the accountability portion of ESSA, how schools should be measured, and that will close September 30th. And It's fairly easy to go in there and say that you think schools should be measured by this, not this, and there's a drop-down menu where you can give comments. And the Arizona Education Association also has a staff team and a group of member teacher leaders that are working to assist local associations with the challenges and opportunities presented by ESSA, and they are working on doing a newsletter that will be coming out after Labor Day. So can we turn the lights on and see if there are any questions?